Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Russell here, and the CRA, or the Canada Revenue Agency, well, they're sending up to $14,000 of CERB money to certain Canadians based on a promise that they made months and months and months ago that we covered really heavily here on the channel, but we haven't heard about in quite some time. So based on how much we covered it on the channel before, I knew I needed to talk about it today and give you an update on exactly what's going on here. So let's get right into the information, and if you're somebody who's benefiting from this and is going to receive a little bit extra money, it could be a good time to open up an investing account. You can check out some of the links in the description to do so and take your financial health and wealth into your own hands. But now I've got to provide you with a little bit of context on what this whole story was and what was going on here, because it dates all the way back to December of 2020. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you may remember some of these videos that I made saying, okay, let me flip back over. This was the first one right here. Where the CRA was taking $14,000 back from some people who applied to the CERB program. Now, let me explain exactly why this was happening. Now, you see, the CERB program had one specific requirement that you had to have earned $5,000 in the previous year in order to be eligible. Now, we ran into a little bit of a problem because in some instances, the CRA put out information that said, hey, it's $5,000 gross income, not net income. So that makes a big difference because gross income refers to all of the money that you earned in that year, and net income refers to all of that money in that year that you earned minus the expenses that you had to pay in order to earn that money, right? This is for self-employed people. Now, some people read those guidelines and thought that it was net income, and some people read the guidelines and thought that it was gross income. And in fact, even former Finance Minister Bill Morneau came out and said it's based on gross income back when the program was initially beginning. Now, this confusion led to a ton of people applying to the CERB program who hadn't actually made the net income that the CRA was requiring them to make in order to apply. But because of how quickly the CERB program was implemented, there wasn't any sort of gate to stop these people from applying if they had only received the $5,000 gross income rather than the $5,000 net income. And when the CRA realized this, that they couldn't verify that many of these people did make over the $5,000 net income level, well, they sent out over 440,000 letters to Canadians saying, hey, you may have to repay the entirety of your CERB payments. That's up to $14,000 for that program that covered over the first entire almost year of the pandemic. Now, this rightly scared a lot of CERB recipients who had received this money in a time of need and had potentially had spent it on rent or on food or on other things. Now they're receiving a letter saying, hey, maybe you weren't eligible for that, and maybe you're going to have to randomly make up this $14,000 and pay back the CRA. So many people got these letters saying, hey, you might need to pay this back. And some people took that rather seriously. There were articles that we covered here on the channel where people sold tools for their businesses. They sold their truck and car to be able to pay back this money to the CRA. Now, here's where things get a little bit interesting, because I'll show you this other video that I released at the time. This was, I believe, 2 months after these letters went out, but the government came out and they announced that for these self-employed individuals, well, they wouldn't actually have to pay back the CERB like these letters said if they were someone who had received the $5,000 gross income and not the $5,000 net income and used that to apply for the CERB. So they essentially said, you don't have to pay this back so long as you actually did qualify for with the gross number, right? Not the net number. That's the distinction that they made here. But that led to a big problem because some of these people, like I said, sold things and scrounged up money to be able to pay back the CRA what they were essentially told that they had to pay back. Now, at this point, people had already paid things back, but then the CRA came in and said, hey, you don't have to pay things back, but these people had already paid the CRA their money. So the CRA said, okay, well, very soon, we're going to come out with a way for you to actually get this money back from us if you're somebody who falls into this special circumstance. And lo and behold, how many months later, we have an announcement on that, and we actually have some information. Now, this just came out quietly. They didn't announce it, but it was on May 27th. It's odd how the CRA announces things quietly when it means that they're going to have to pay out money to the individuals. But here is the announcement, and there's a form attached to this that I'm going to show you, especially if you're somebody who's impacted by the situation. And it's called T180 CERB Reimbursement Application for Self-Employed Individuals. Now, this is what they promised promised way back in February of 2021. Now we're so many months later and they're finally coming out with it. And here's the form that you would need to file if you were someone who's impacted by this very unique situation. Well, and it could be quite a lot of people based on the 440,000 letters that went out. And there'll be a link to this page down there in the description right below the course link and the investment account links, by the way. That course, the coupon code INVEST for 45% off, briefly extended here for the next couple of days. So check that out, see if it's a good fit for you. But I'll give you a link to this form right underneath all of that. And this is the form that if you're somebody who was self-employed and had their gross income of $5,000 and was told by the CRA to pay back some money, and you did, and you can now fill out this form to get that back. We're going to take a look at exactly who would qualify for this. So it's for people who have applied for the Canada Emergency Response benefit based on their self-employment income. They filed their tax returns for the past 2 years, or like 2019 and 2020, this most recent tax season, and had a gross self-employment income of $5,000 or more in 2019 or the 12 months before they applied for the CERB, and you met all their eligibility criteria, and you have repaid some or all of your CERB payments. So specifically for the people who were told, hey, you need to qualify with net, not gross, they paid this money back. Now the CRA said you can actually qualify based on gross because we made a mistake. Now, so many months later, they're allowing you to fill out this form and actually get that money back within, I think I read it down here, within 90 calendar days. So they're giving the CRA 3 months to give you back this potentially $14,000 that they aren't entitled to hold from you. But you have to fill out all this information and all of the details about how much you repaid, when you repaid it, how you repaid it, who you repaid it back to, the CRA, Service Canada, all of this information. But once you fill all of that out, you can either send it online with your CRA My account using Submit Documents. Maybe you can even file it online individually, or you can send it to this address by mail or by fax. But finally, this has come out from the CRA, and this is, I think, why so many people are frustrated a lot with what's been going on at the CRA. Is just it seems like in these matters where people are really heavily affected on a financial basis, and it could seriously affect them in their financial future and their families for years and years to come, depending on how much money they're owed by the CRA. Well, it's frustrating that it took this long for it to come out when it's something that's so important for so many people. But this is what we're dealing with right now with this current government and the current leaders of the CRA right now. Like I said, if you're someone who's in that unique situation that you applied based on your self-employment income and your gross self-employment income, and were told you had to pay back some money and you did, this is for you to apply to get your money back from the CRA that you never were supposed to actually have to pay back to them based on the announcements that came out after the fact, right? So a big roundabout way of getting your money back that you are essentially entitled to. And with all that said, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope this video helped you out at least a little bit, and I'll see you next time. This channel is supported by viewers like you. Thanks, channel members.